I've just thought I've not had any thoughts on how we actually want to introduce this.
Nor have I. All of a sudden, I'm sat here going, how are we going to introduce our very first podcast?
Maybe that's introduction.
Maybe that is the
Maybe
intro.
that's introduction.
Number one, here we are.
Here we are.
Welcome to it. Thank you for being the first one.
Yeah.
That's all right. My pleasure.
I guess we better introduce ourselves,
Yeah,
really.
I'll let you go first.
Oh, yeah, thanks very much.
That's all right.
So, for those who don't know me, I'm Carrie, and I'm the team manager for Fostering Southwest. And here today we have the wonderful...
Hi everyone, so I'm Ian Jarman, Assistant Team Manager and Communications Lead for Fostering Southwest, so two wonderful roles smashed together. And we are very, very welcome to introduce our first guest on our very first podcast.
I can't believe it. First podcast. I am Joe, and I'm a foster carer for Wiltshire Council.
Amazing. We're really pleased that you're here, Joe, because Ian and I have kind of worked with you in the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we've kind of had some really amazing conversations that we've had about the importance of fostering and fostering recruitment. And the way that you talk about fostering and the care that you give the children that you look after and the world of fostering, we just really wanted to be able to bring that to other people and for other people to kind of hear your experiences and to learn more about fostering, really.
That's really nice. It sounds like you're going to grill me later on.
Absolutely.
I love fostering. It's an incredible sort of lifestyle to get into. Mm-hmm. And I also love doing the recruitment stuff as well, chatting to people who are thinking about it, who have maybe never considered it before.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite an exciting bit of fostering to do. So thanks for inviting me to this podcast. And should we get started?
Wow, definitely. I think we should start with an apology though.
Oh, go on.
Firstly,
Who's apologising
there
first?
are more than one foster care in the Southwest. For those who do follow our social medias, they might recognise Joe's face. And also, he does own more than one jumper. He has assured me, for those who have seen our videos before.
Yeah, this is the exact same get-up I had for the advertising videos.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we will make sure he does bring another jumper next time.
Yeah.
So, on that note...
On that note, do we want to introduce a little bit more about Fostering Southwest?
Yeah,
and who we are?
Absolutely. I think we should.
Okay. So, I guess, how long have we been going now?
April 29th.
April 29th.
A year today.
Nearly a year, but 11 months.
No, because this is going out on April 29th.
Oh, there you go, see? So
yes.
it will be our first year celebration. So, yes, we've been going for a year and supporting how many local authorities?
15 local authorities across the region.
That's a lot.
It is a
That's
lot.
a lot.
Some real variance in there as well, which has been a good challenge to have.
Yeah.
And I think something that in the Southwest we've really focused on understanding that region as itself and the nuances.
So what exactly do you cover? Like, is it from the very tip of Cornwall to how far do you go?
We go literally right down to the Isle of Scilly.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Isle of Scilly, right the way through. In the sea,
yeah.
All the way up through to... Is Swindon our furthest north?
Do you know what? I get asked this most days and I've still not looked which of Gloucestershire or Swindon is more north.
It's Gloucestershire or Swindon that's more north,
But one of those, and then east to Dorset and everything in between.
That's
Everything
a
in
huge
between.
chunk of the country, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
But you know what? All of those local authorities have all come together. So we've kind of come about through the need to find homes for children. More and more children are needing homes. More and more children are moving far away from their home, more than 20 miles from their community. And in order to try and help children who need homes to live in their community where they know, with their friends, with their families, still going to their football teams, still going to, their brownies or their youth clubs. We need to be able to recruit foster carers more locally, and it is a real national challenge and a national problem that's come about from the hub developing and us being created.
Definitely. And it's been a really nice opportunity for fostering to sort of reach new audiences, reach new people, start those conversations and just make people aware of what fostering actually is. Yeah. Recognising that for a lot of people, that journey to become a foster carer can start months or years before they take that first step and speak to a member of our team. Actually, it's those bits beforehand when they start understanding what fostering means, bringing that to the region, making sure that we're reaching people who are able to meet the religious, cultural, language needs of the children across our area. And that's something that we've really sort of made sure to focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. And this podcast is our next step into being able to try and do that. So what's our plan with these podcasts then? How often are we doing them?
So we're looking to do every fortnight. We'll have a different guest. You might see Joe again. It might be the same jumper. Who knows yet?
I think I'm going to bring it every time.
Now
you mentioned it
It's
every
done now.
time. Yeah.
I'm going to slowly get one for myself as well,
Yeah.
so that's fine. So yeah, fortnightly, over the next 12 months, we'll bring you different episodes, introducing you to different members of fostering across the region, potentially introduce some of our wonderful partners, different members of our local authorities, different teams, just to share some stories from fostering from different angles along the way.
All right, should we get started?
Let's get started.
Are
All right,
we
let's
ready?
do it. Are you ready,
Are you
Joe?
ready?
It's like mastermind.
It's like mastermind, yeah. Or this is your life. That
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah.
yeah. So, Joe, I know you've kind of introduced yourself as a foster carer and foster for Wiltshire, but I wondered if you could just kind of tell us a little bit more about you.
Okay, yeah. So, as you know, my name's Joe. I'm in my mid-30s, and coming into fostering for me was a bit of a strange one because I did like a complete career change. So my previous work experience had been like in retail when I was much younger, and then I went into carpentry. And I spent years working in factories, making things, worked for many different companies. And and then I ended up in fostering, which is like a really odd, like 90-degree turn. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Complete transition.
Making stuff with your hands, working in factories for like loads of men, being on building sites, and then huge right turn, boom, straight into fostering. It was interesting. I had like almost like whiplash from it, like it was such like a lifestyle change.
You make a really good point there in terms of your background and it being entirely polar opposites to sort of where you are now. And I think that's something we see, I think.
Yeah.
People think in their misconceptions maybe that there's a perfect type of foster carer, there's a perfect time to do it.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not true. People come to fostering for 1,000,000,001 different reasons, and they bring 1,000,000,001 different life skills and experiences that actually make them the foster carer that they are. That means then they are right for that set of children or young people. And I think that's really important to recognise.
Absolutely. I think every child has individual situations, individual needs, and we need foster carers who are able to match that. And fostering is such a world of difference, but also a world of coming together.
Yeah.
So we need all types of foster carers.
Takes a lot of different sorts of life experience.
Yeah,
That kind of makes
definitely.
sense. Like, you want people who have had different experiences growing up.
Yeah.
Who have had different jobs, who have had different careers. And talking about life experience, actually, one of the most common myths of fostering is the age one. There is no upper age limit to fostering.
No.
And if you're going to bring a lot of life experience with you, like that's to your benefit. So
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's something we've seen, isn't it? When we sort of speak to people, you see people in their early to mid-20s, 80s come along to some of our virtual awareness events, and it's been amazing to see the real breadth of people that are interested in making that difference and supporting children and young people. I mean, back to you, because you are the star of the show.
Come on.
What was it then that brought you to decide, actually, now is the time, I am going to become a foster carer? What made you first think about it? What made you sort of take that leap?
Okay, so what really made me first think about it was I had a friend who was a little bit of a tearaway. He was incredibly good at parties. He was like suave, chatty, really good at banter. And he was great always at a party. And I remember one Christmas party, he said, I'm going to go and see family next week. And I said, who are you seeing? Like mum, dad, aunts, uncles? And he went, no, my foster carers. And I never considered that he had grown up sort of in care.
Yeah.
And I was only like 20 at this party, so I was very young. And ever since he said that, I was like, he's such a cool person and he's got his life so together. You wouldn't expect that from like a foster kid. So that kind of, it's always sat at the back of my mind. And many, many years later, met my wife, married her. And, you have conversations about having kids, or what sort of family you're going to have. And we'd always talked about it, wanting to foster or look after children. And our plan had always been, I think what a lot of people's plans is, which is, okay, we'll get our careers going, we'll get a house, we'll have our own kids, and then when our kids have gone to uni and we've got a spare bedroom, we'll be fostering.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's quite a typical story. I don't know if you come across that quite a lot in your recruitment events.
Yes, quite a lot.
Yeah, it is that real, what's been typical trajectory over a number of years. And I guess what we're trying to do is help people see that they can do it kind of sooner and a different way around. And you're going to share that with us.
I'll share that with you now. So, as I mentioned before, I was sort of in manual trade labours, doing carpentry, doing kitchen fitting on building sites and stuff. And the great societal event, COVID, happened, right?
Yes.
COVID and the lockdowns washed over society. And, I think that affected everybody. And we always say that, but we're now like 5 years down the line.
Yeah.
And like think about how life has changed, like working from home, like even if you're not working from home, people are working like 3 days a week from home or 2 days a week from home. And like, the struggle of people not being able to see relatives and stuff like that. And the actual lockdowns, you just couldn't go out.
No.
So that washed over us. And I I'd just hit my 30s. And it's a time of life where like you reflect a little bit. And I thought, all right, I'm in like the best years of my life for working, right? My career is not in too bad of a spot. Like, what do I want the value of my work to be, if that makes sense? Because I can work very hard with the tools and on site, and make things, or there'll be people out there who have office jobs, etc. What value am I actually like adding to society at that point? So yeah, had the chat with the wife again. I was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. And we came back round to fostering, just through conversations that we'd had.
And what do you remember about that journey into kind of fostering? From that moment you picked up that phone to you've talked about approval and panel. What was that journey like? Yeah,
so it's a pretty similar process for most local authorities. Picked up the phone, had a lovely conversation with somebody from Wiltshire Council on the end of the phone. And they thought, okay, you're pretty serious about fostering. We were. And the next thing that happened was what's called an assessing social worker came round for a chat. Yeah. Okay, so a lovely lady called Rachel came round to our house. And in fact, she had another social worker in tow with her who she was training up. And I think the first time we just sat down, we had like a 1 or 2 hour conversation, and she was like, what do you think fostering is? Yeah. What do you think we do? It was really, it's a little bit like dating someone, where like you're trying to suss out what they're like and they're trying to suss out what you're like. So anyway, we were pretty serious about it. We had sort of an idea, and she said, okay, let's go ahead with an application form. Let's start. Which takes us into the actual application process, which, you can't just pick up the phone and become a foster carer. There is a lot of steps. Yeah. There's a lot of steps to go through. Yeah. If I miss one, you have to tell me.
We'll let you know, yeah.
You're the expert on that, so I'll bow to you on this.
All right, thanks.
All right. So here we go, right? So here's how I remember it. It was assessing social worker came for a visit. Then it was filling out the application form. And then we began what was called Form F. Right?
Form F.
Form F. Which lots of foster carers didn't like, lots of foster carers did like.
Yeah.
How do I explain Form F to somebody who's never done a Form F?
Do you know what? Yeah. Someone explained it to me like having a little bit of, like almost like couples therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, going, having a bit of couples therapy with an assessing social worker, and literally kind of going through past, present, future.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had some lovely conversations actually around it with people involved in fostering now, and so they learn so much about themselves and their family and their partners just through that conversation. Yeah. And judging by that knowing smile, I'm saying that's something that strikes a chord.
Do you remember the old show, the one with the red book?
This is your life.
This is your life. It felt like This Is Your Life. Yeah. They start from childhood. They ask you what your childhood's like, and they do this for you and your partner. And then like they go through your career, what your career journey's been like. They go through like past relationships. Don't panic. Like loads of foster carers or people thinking about becoming foster carers are like, oh, I've got a really vindictive ex. Like, how's that going to go? Yeah. It'll be fine. Don't worry. And they just go through your life right up until the point where you're sat down filling out the form. And for us, that took a few months because there were still lockdowns going on and there were questions about who could come to the house, etc. So yeah, Form F was a good few months, a good couple of sessions. I think our social worker came sort of like every 2 or 3 weeks, have a chat with us.
But you get to build that relationship with them, don't you, as well? You get to kind of know them over time. They get to know you.
Yeah.
And it's done in a way that, like you say, is that supportive, but offering that kind of curiosity to really give a snapshot of what your home would be like with a child there, and actually what that child might experience and what it might be like for them. Yeah.
And for us, that was really odd because my wife and I don't have any natural born children of our own. So it was a case of like, kids are going to drop into this house.
Yeah.
If this happens,
Change is coming, yeah.
Change is coming. Oh, there was a pet assessment. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
So lots of people in recruitment are like, oh, I've got a dog. Is that going to be okay? I've got a cat. Yeah, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you haven't got a banned breed. And with your social worker, you just fill out a little pet assessment form. And any risks are noted if there are any risks.
Yeah.
But almost every single foster carer I know has a pet as well.
Yeah.
Like either a cat or a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or even like a fish in a bowl in the corner.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. What's next? Oh, after Form F.
After your Form F.
Okay, so as you get towards the end of Form F, and filling out this huge file that takes weeks and weeks, after filling out Form F, our assistant social worker said, this is looking pretty good. I think we're going to approach something called panel. Right?
Yeah, the panel.
The panel with a capital P, panel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so obviously, we're applying for the first time to be foster carers. I have no idea what panel is. I don't know how you describe it.
I think it's something that sounds really scary, but people that I've spoken to that have attended panel as foster carers, or going for the first time to get that approval or not approval, have said that it's been a really wonderful experience for them. But it can sound quite daunting because it's a panel of people.
I remember being really worried before panel, definitely. But then, as you said, the actual experience was actually really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how I'd describe it. Dragon's Den crossed with Loose Women, I think is the way I'll go for it.
We've had all sorts. We've had Britain's Got Talent judges.
Britain's Got Talent,
The Voice, everything like that,
But I think it's because it's such an important thing. You've put that work in. You've got to that point. This is something that you want to do, and you go to panel. And panel is for people who don't know. So, foster panel is made up of people with experience of fostering directly. They may be care experience themselves. It might be social workers. There might be a medical advisor. There might be people who have been foster carers or who are foster carers. And collectively, they would then make an agreement or a decision based on the recommendations of that Form F, that social worker, whether they would agree or they would disagree with the recommendation. So, that panel holds potentially future decisions. So on your journey, kind of going through, doing your Form F, even back to your application, what kind of myths did you come across? You've mentioned kind of some about
okay, so like
pets.
the pets, definitely. Like you can't foster if you've got a pet. No, you can.
Yeah.
Actually, surprisingly, how open fostering is, right?
Okay.
Like, you can test me on my knowledge here.
Okay. Go on.
Okay, so you've got to be about 21, right?
Yeah.
You've got to have a spare bedroom. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you own it or it's rented.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also need to drive. I think that's it.
Wow.
So
Go on.
we'll give you half marks for that.
Yeah.
I think
Half
it's fair
marks.
to say. So, and I think that's one of the interesting things working regionally, sort of, as we do, and challenges for the team who sort of look at that on that closer level.
Yeah.
Actually, not all authorities will want you to have a spare room.
No.
There are some who will look at opportunities within fostering when you don't maybe currently have a spare room.
Yeah.
They might look at sort of ages of potentially under twos that you could foster with. And now that's not the case across all the region, definitely.
No.
But there are some opportunities that people who listen to this or looking into fostering and they don't currently have a spare room, actually that's not a complete blocker like it maybe used to be.
No, it's not. There's, I guess, a number of opportunities, like things like maybe kind of daycare.
Yeah.
So supporting other foster carers who may have children with them, but also around kind of maybe thinking about babies and toddlers.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's not all local authorities that do that, but that's where we come in.
Absolutely.
And we're able to kind of help people. So depending on where you're living and what area, that's what our team's kind of able to do, and, know what local authority would be kind of the most kind of suited for you.
Yeah, 100%. And we've seen that on sort of social media quite a lot. We get people messaging being like, oh, at the time I really wanted to foster but didn't have a spare room and my circumstance didn't allow for it. But actually now some authorities are looking at their processes and what works and stuff. And with our team, like you say, they can work to find a solution to quite a lot of problems like that.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think
I didn't know that I fell through one of the myths.
Yeah, perfect.
I think the driving one as well. I think there are some areas in our region that are quite densely populated, so they have really good train links and really good travel links. So actually for some local authorities as well, or depending on where you are within a local authority, again, it wouldn't necessarily be that you have to drive, but it would be that you can access transport to be able to get to the child's local school or to be able to attend training. So again, that one's also individual.
Two out,
Was that
two out of four?
Yeah, 2 out of 3. I think some of the other myths as well. What else do we come across?
We have a lot about, like you say, family setup, whether you have to have your own sort of biological children or not. That's something we see quite a lot.
Yeah.
And that really doesn't matter. We see people who do, and we speak to them and say, actually, it's been amazing for their kids to get involved in and sort of be a bit of a role model and actually learn from other children and young people who've been through very different experiences themselves. And that's a real growth point. But then on the other hand, we see lots of foster carers like yourself who don't for whatever reason. And actually, it works kind of both ways.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a few other ones. What one strikes a chord with you?
I think we've talked about the age one. I think that can be kind of quite a common kind of misconception. I think around your kind of gender and also around kind of sexuality in two different ways. So obviously, with the gender, I think there's a lot of kind of preconceived ideas or conceptions that, it has to be a female foster carer or a female foster carer within the family. And actually, again, that's the whole part of the fostering Form F process, is creating that match, that actually what type of child would thrive in this home. So we need people who might be in a couple, who might be single, also people who might be in the same-sex relationships. There's really no limitations.
Yeah.
And you sort of led on to quite a good point there. So if we sort of go back to your fostering journey, just see, so where sort of have you done? So what sort of types of fostering have you got involved in? And what sort of...
Okay, so when we were approved as short-term foster carers.
Okay.
So for those who don't know, short-term foster care is a type of foster caring, and it can be anywhere from sort of like 2 weeks all the way up to 2 years, depending on the needs of that child at that time. So I've known short-term foster carers who have in a year they might have 3 children in their homes, or foster carers like us who go for the full 2 years. And in fact, our story is a little different because as we neared the end of those 2 years, the children's social worker approached us and said, actually, this is a really good fit.
Yeah.
Would you like to go long term? So had a chat, had a family meeting.
Family meeting,
which at the time included the children we were looking after. You have to fold these kids into your family.
Yeah.
And we came to the decision that we'd go long term. So we've got 2 children at home with us at the moment, siblings, teenagers, and they're going to be with us all the way to they're 18.
Yeah.
So that's our type of fostering.
Amazing.
There are some other types of fostering as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different types of fostering, and I think for us, your journey is you started out thinking about short term, you've moved into long term, you're caring for teenagers, you're caring for siblings together as well. I guess one of the things I kind of wanted to think back on was, what made you think to foster for a local authority?
Okay. So other than it being the first search result on Google when I typed in local fostering, fostering for your local authority actually has quite a lot of benefits. So at a very base level, it is the local authority social workers who would have already put in a lot of work with these children. So in essence, the local authority knows most about these kids, which for you as a foster carer is great, because when you're looking after these children, you might want lots of information, support, and somebody who understands their story. So that's the first major boon, so to say, fostering for your local authority. The next one specifically, so I'm going to talk about Wiltshire. The support from local authorities is just incredible, nearly off the charts. So if you foster, obviously the children you look after will have their own social worker, but you as foster carers will also get your own dedicated social worker to sort of like support you and fight your corner and, you know, really sort of like lift you up, especially in terms of training and development and being effective carers and providing the best care you can. Beyond that, there are also, you know, local authorities have support workers who can come and help you out. So when our kids first moved in, I mean, it was a pretty rapid event from being approved to the children moving in. And there were so many people in our house. And the support workers did things like, you know, took the kids out for half a day. Do you know what I mean? Because it's really, really stressful, really traumatic being transitioned into a new home. And sometimes you do just need like half a day at the cinema, half a day at the park, chill out. So that was good. And then some more practical support you get is... So Wiltshire has round the clock 24/7. There's always somebody who will support you. So outside of your social worker's hours, there will be a social worker on duty with a phone number that you can call. And duty runs to quite late at night. And then even in the wee small hours of the morning, there will always be, I think it's the EDS service it's called. There's another number you can call until. So you're covered like 24/7 round the clock. Another great thing about local authorities, which is your favourite little pet project. Well, it's not a pet project. It's bigger than that.
No, it's bigger than that.
I love
You've
this.
just offended Carrie.
It's
Wonderful,
huge.
good start.
There you go. Is the Mockingbird system. So that's being rolled out in local authorities at the moment. And that has been a huge amount of support. I think you said it earlier, it takes a village to raise a child.
And I feel really passionate about it, and it's something that I
It's been
really
so
enjoy.
good. Oh, really? So
And you're part of it.
we joined the first constellation that started up in Wiltshire, and it's exactly as you described. So there's a central, quite experienced foster carer, and then there's, I think we've got 7 or 8 families around at the moment, part of that constellation. And, you know, just on the day-to-day level, we have like a Mockingbird outing like once a month. And then also we have like a coffee morning once a month just for the adults. So we can all go and have a wine and then moan and be like, oh, what's your week like? You know, oh, it's terrible. What about yours? Oh, it was great. One of the bits that I really like is the professional relationships. With the other people around the child who are responsible for the child's care. So, you know, we're looking after these children. I mean, one of these children came to us age 11 to 18. And to have the same professionals involved that you can build a relationship with, and then like become sort of like a team, problem-solving team, if that makes sense, that's a huge benefit as well, definitely.
The child social worker, the foster carer social worker, you know, are coming from a place where it's the same ethos, it's the same model, it's the same training. Those relationships are already existing, so you already know each other, and I think those opportunities where you'll go on training together, you're training with your social worker or the child social worker, but I think for me one of the biggest things about fostering for your local authority is children get to stay where they know. They get to stay with seeing their best friend on their after school on a Tuesday. They get to be able to, you know, still go and see, you know, John, their football coach, who's been their football coach for years. They still get to go to that practice.
So important.
It's in that time of disruption, isn't it, where actually they're having those consistencies. That they're starting to feel less change in a really tricky period.
Yeah, very true. I mean, if you as an adult just imagine moving house, right? Just imagine the chaos in your life of moving house, okay? Now imagine you're a child and you haven't really had a say, it's happening to you. It's traumatic. There's no other word for it. So if you can keep the child local with the same support networks, you know, seeing the same friends, the same teachers at school, all those really important people in their lives, you know, even them going and playing at the same park, you know, anything you can keep the same will help it and maintain that sort of continuity in their life a little bit. Massively important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it can't be underestimated, the impact of, when children are having to move more than 20 miles away from where they know.
Which is the case currently, isn't it?
Yeah.
There aren't enough local authority foster beds, the places for children to go.
Yeah.
And what the local authority has to do is turn to the market, turn to independent fostering agencies, which may have provision, they may have the beds, but as you said, like 50 miles away, 20 miles away, what's that mean to that child's life?
Yeah. And for foster carers as well, it helps that transition period. They can start to understand the child, they can understand their environment and their surroundings, and actually involve not just the child in their new foster family's life, but actually the other way around a little bit. And really start to see that for them two-way involvement. It does make such a big difference and improve outcomes for sort of everyone, doesn't it?
It's a really good point. Yeah, it is. It's about the foster carer being able to see life, what that life is like for the child, and being able to be part of the child's life and the other way around. Yeah, that's a really good point. And then for you, obviously, you had your match with your children who were with you and have been with you now for over 2 years.
Yeah, the matching was so good.
Yeah.
It actually worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
Which was to the benefit of everybody, definitely.
Yeah.
And the matching sort of happened, we were talking about the application process earlier. There was sort of like a tapering. So as we approached panel, our social worker was saying to us, what sort of child do you think would fit in your house?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the reason we ended up with some older children, some teenagers, some siblings, was actually from my previous work experience in the factory, because I loved working with the apprentices. Right? They were just the funniest bunch of people you'd ever met. And there's nothing better than a teenager who's trying to figure out life. It's just chaos. And it's a really fizzy thing. And just off the back of that conversation, the social worker went, oh, so you get on with teenagers? Okay. Let's consider that while we're matching. You know?
Back to that and your souffle of life then. How have you found fostering fitted into sort of your previous daily routines and what's that souffle looking like now?
Yeah, pretty good. When we first started and we were approved and these children were going to come to our house, as I said earlier, my wife and I don't have our own natural born children, so it was chaos, right? I mean, we hit the ground running. I went from watching Netflix at midday and petting the dog to going, oh my God, where's the PE kit? We haven't got a lunchbox. What school do you go to? It was, and that's the point. We had a lot of support. That was really good. Balance of life's really important, definitely. So I'm no longer a carpenter. I still do it sometimes if I want. If you're a foster carer for your local authority, you'll be self-employed. And that balance is, I find it, I don't know how I'm going to put this. I find it nice, right? Yeah. The balance of life. In terms of these teenagers, they go to school. So I get some time off in the day to myself, and then they're home at night. And you can imagine what a pair of teenage girls is like, friendship dramas, schoolwork's all over the place. There might be clubs we're going to.
Nails being painted.
I've had my nails painted.
And yours.
Many times. Yeah, many times. I think there's some recruitment photos actually of me with nails painted. So my balance at the moment is I have a very relaxed day and sometimes some very busy evenings. But you have to maintain it. You have to look after yourself, first and foremost. And if you as a foster carer are okay and you're looking after yourself, and I do mean you're having the hot bubbly bath with the candles,
nice,
going on spa days, getting out for a morning golf if you want to, those really important physical things to look after yourself. If you're okay, you're gonna look after the kids better.
Can you remember the kind of things that you did in the beginning when your girls first moved in with you? The kind of things that you would do to try and build a relationship with them?
We did days out, cinema trips. Every family event we'd go to, we put in a huge effort. And we tried really, really hard very quickly. And in fact, what actually worked, it wasn't the days out, it was them realising that you are fighting their corner. You know what, they've got an issue at school, I'll come in, we'll have a chat. You know what I mean? You're suddenly sat next to that child, talking the issue through with the other adults in the room, the child realises you're on their side.
Yeah.
You know?
You become one of their biggest champions,
Yeah,
one of their biggest
definitely.
advocates.
You become like the rock in their life.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Definitely. But yeah, that first year, we tried hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think actually speaking to other foster carers like yourself, and they've said actually it was some of the small things that, for example, foster carers picking up children from school, and actually at first the child not used to having a consistent person there.
Yeah,
but
same
over
person
time,
every day.
Yeah.
they realise you are going to be there for them.
Yeah.
And it's that rather than like these big grand gestures, like in so many other facets of life.
Yeah.
It's those little small things, just turning up, being consistent, being there for someone that actually do over time really build those relationships.
Yeah.
And obviously they've taught you lots of skills from the sounds of it as well, not just how to...
I know every TikTok dance going.
Amazing.
I can paint my nails. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, I was trying to do my eye makeup.
Nice.
Right? So the youngest girl was like doing her eye makeup for like dance or whatever. I was like, you know what? I've never even tried eyeliner or mascara. Let's go for it.
Love it.
I wear glasses, and it's really hard to like get a mascara wand like behind your glasses and look in the mirror at the same time. And then my wife came in and just took the most awful photo of me.
Brilliant.
You can't have it for recruitment. You're not allowed that photo.
That's going to get pinned up
I
somewhere
need that
behind
photo.
there. Yeah.
I need that photo.
So yeah, all of that. Just, you know,
Yeah.
dive in, both feet first. That's what I say.
And it's those funny moments, is those kind of candid moments that in the moment where, you know, you're learning something or they're teaching you something. Those are the important ones. It's the small moments
Definitely.
that have the big impact. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked at length about sort of those little moments together, haven't we, in terms of like your New Year's Eve rituals and
New Year's Eve.
and all those bits.
Tell us about this.
Okay, so this is when we did the filming about.
This was,
actually.
Yeah.
So it was first New Year's Eve, and the clock struck midnight, and we'd let the girls stay up late to watch it. You know,
Yes.
a very traditional like English New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're going to watch Jules Holland and then fireworks. You know, right? So they stayed up, and the clock struck midnight, and my wife and I threw open the front and back doors because that's our tradition. We let in the new year, let out the old year. I think it's from like Norway or somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the girls were like, what on earth are you doing? Like, why have you thrown the doors open at midnight? So we had to explain why we do this every year. And the youngest one said, oh, can we do something? And sometimes as a foster carer, you've got to think pretty quick on your feet, right? Especially when there's a lovely young girl with big, wide puppy dog eyes going, what can we do?
Yeah.
You know? And, we grabbed some mugs out the cupboard. I was like, okay, I'll smash some mugs. Threw some mugs out the front door and smashed them. And, it's like breaking something old. So it's not often always mugs. Sometimes it's plates or, you know.
Nice.
Yeah. Whatever you've got in the
Whatever
cupboard
you've got
because
in the
you've
cupboard.
forgotten to go and buy
Basically,
something.
Whatever that year has chipped or cracked, you haven't thrown it away yet.
Yeah.
Or like the very large cartoon mug that like takes
Nice.
up loads of space.
Yeah.
You know, smash that.
Yeah.
All right.
Where
Where were we?
The camera caught fire a second time.
I'm still okay. But it's
Yeah.
near me. I'm
Only our
slightly
first
worried.
podcast. You're all right.
I'm
Yeah.
keeping Ian that side. You're near the camera.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's fine. End of the story. So so the tradition became throwing crockery out the front door at midnight on New Year's Eve.
Not generally. Not
Generally.
Tuesday.
No.
Not around Tuesday. And then next year rolled round, and midnight rolled round, and the youngest said, "Are we going to do it again?" So that tradition was born. But I did say the real tradition is that I forget to clean up the broken crockery down the front lawn, and the supervising social worker walks up and is like, "Why is there broken crockery down the front of the garden?" But that's like one of the joys of supervising social workers, because you have that relationship, because you know them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They took that in their stride. Oh, you smashed some stuff last night. Fine.
Yeah.
Not
Cool as a
problem.
reason. Yeah.
Cool as a reason.
Because you're supervising, your social worker as a foster carer is called your supervising social worker.
Yeah, that's what I
aren't
mean.
they?
So
yeah.
I'll explain before. The children have their own social worker, but you, as a foster carer, you have your own social worker. It's a really nice relationship because they are very, very supportive, and they lift you up. They maintain your training, and they are like your first port of call if you have problems.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which doesn't happen very often, and they've usually all of them have their heads screwed on pretty well. There's nothing they haven't seen before.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Would you say, it's a bit of a kind of deeper, meaningful question now, but
Oh, go on. I'm ready.
would you say fostering has changed you in any way?
Oh yeah, loads.
Yeah.
Loads. So, as I said, my old life was I'd call it very masculine, working in factories, working on building sites, a carpenter, working with wood, power tools everywhere. The biggest concern in my life at the moment is the friendship drama of a teenage girl that I'm looking after. Do you know what I mean? It's completely changed me. I'm a lot more resilient, I think. Fostering helps you find some depths you might not know that you had.
Yeah. You learn a lot about yourself, don't you?
Oh, yeah, loads.
Yeah.
Loads.
Yeah. No, it is a journey, and you are progressing. You're learning more about yourself. You're learning more about the children that are in your care. But also the kind of those children kind of being in your forever family as well. They might move on to another foster family, but they've still formed part of your family, and you're learning all these things all the time.
Like the amount of foster carers I know who are still in contact with children who they've looked after who are now adults. Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's significant.
Yeah.
Significant to that child. You've lived in their home. You've been in you are part of their family. And, often, I look back and I think, gosh, I can remember times when I might have been 18, 19, 20, and I kind of was like, oh, I really need some help. Who can I kind of go to? Who's that person? Who do you pick up the phone to? So that staying close is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. When children do kind of turn 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
But still coming back and being part of the family years later.
Yeah. Forever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then thinking back to your journey.
Yeah.
And to those people who may be taking the first steps.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to them? Now, this is something we're going to ask everyone who, for their misfortune, sits in that chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got the first...
Is this advice for foster carers?
Yeah. Advice,
okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Let me think about this. I'm going to say, make sure you look after yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. If you're okay, your level of care is going to be way better.
Yeah.
So have that hot bath. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have that spa day. Do it.
Yeah.
Ask questions. Look for advice. Like you say, look for help.
Yeah, definitely. And anybody who's interested in fostering, pick up the phone. Talk to Fostering South West. They're lovely, lovely people, and they'll answer any questions. And you will be surprised at the breadth and width of questions they do get from people thinking about fostering.
Yeah.
From is it okay that I've got a dog?
Yes.
To I'm 75 years old. Can I foster? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no questions too small. No questions too silly. No matter where you might think, actually, it's been asked before.
Yeah.
And if it is a completely novel question, I'd be excited to hear it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think, we can answer calls, we can, people can complete online forms and surveys. All our information's there, and it might be that you're thinking about fostering in your future.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how far in your future.
Yeah.
Come and talk to us, and you might realise it's in your nearer future than you'd realised.
A bit sooner than you thought,
as
was the case for us.
Yeah. But I've absolutely loved sitting here chatting with you, Joe.
It's been wonderful.
It's been good,
Yeah. It has. I think just hearing more about your journey, learning a little bit more about kind of the girls that are living with you, that you've got in your care, but also just for other people who are thinking about fostering, to hear your story, and to hear your journey, and to kind of have that opportunity to think, could they see themselves as fostering? I've really loved it.
I'm really excited to hear on your other podcasts the next episodes. Every 2 weeks.
That's it.
I'm holding you to
that.
We're
holding to it now. Yeah, that's it. We've said it. It's done.
I'm really interested to hear, because fostering is huge, covers a wide range. And I'm really interested to hear other people's stories, other people's journeys, other people's funny stories. I'm sure there'll be loads. So it's been a pleasure, definitely.
Thank you. And that's part of what we want to be able to do, isn't it, with our podcast, is show as many different sides to fostering as possible.
Yeah.
So hopefully with our other guests as well, we'll be able to kind of add to that. We'll be able to bring in some more questions, some different dynamics, some kind of different thinking, and hopefully answer some of the questions that people might have.
Absolutely.
And be thinking to themselves.
And get in touch with us. I mean, if anyone has any questions,
pick up the phone.
Pick up the phone. And if it's something you want us to pick up in our podcast that we've never thought of, then this is the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But everyone will see see us in the next podcast.
Yeah.
You won't see me or this jumper again.
Well,
we might pin it to the back wall just so we've got a use for it. I think it's got to be a little mascot.
Jumper,
yeah.
We've got a Hope, our mascot, behind us, and we've got the jumper.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah. Right, well, that's it for us for this week.
That's it.
That's
You're
the
free
end
to
of
go.
episode 1. We've done it.